Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to New Japan Wrestling Power Struggle 2018 review. I took a look at this event, and by the way, guys, I was supposed to do Survival of the Fittest for Ring of Honor. Unfortunately, Ring of Honor's event was not November 3rd. It was actually tomorrow, November 4th. Right now, Ring of Honor is actually showing the event that happened on October 27th on pay-per-view for anyone who wants to order that on ringofhonor.com. Or Ring of Honor, ROHWrestling.com. As a Honor Club member, you actually get a discounted price for $12 and something odd cents. I'm not in the mood right now to spend any more money than I have lately, so I'm going to eventually watch that event and also go ahead and give you guys a review on it sometime later on this month. So stay tuned for that. In the meantime, I took the time and advantage of watching the New Japan Wrestling Power Struggle 2018 event that happened earlier this morning, Eastern Standard Time, and went ahead and I watched this event. It was actually a pretty decent, okay show. It wasn't the greatest in comparison to their other events that I've streamed and watched before. So, it wasn't exactly a barn burner of a show. But was it decent? Yes. It was definitely better than Crown Jewel from yesterday. I'll tell you that much. Yesterday's Crown Jewel was absolute shit. And it's being reported it was a complete bust, even with all the controversy that went ahead around it going into it. So, altogether, I really didn't give a flying fuck after seeing it. So, let's get into the show, shall we? The first match that I actually watched was an 8-man tag team matchup to kick off the show. It was ACH, Chris Sabin, Ryusuke Tajishi, and Toya Hanraya defeating El Sabareno Jr., Justin Thunder Liger, Tiger Mask, and Valedor Jr. This matchup was a pretty decent opener. Nothing to scream home about, but it wasn't bad at that. So it was okay. Then I watched the 6-man tag team match between the Bullet Club of Robbie Eagles, Tama Tonga, and Tanga Loa, defeating Great Bash Haul, which is Toga Makib and Tomoyaka Homa and Kashida. This matchup was actually pretty dirty, very heel-like tactics by the Bullet Club in comparison to most of the heels in the New Japan Wrestling organization. Very impressive old-school heel-like tactics involved, and Tang, I believe his name is, it was actually Tama Tonga, who went ahead and picked up the victory with a diamond cutter type of finisher after a hit over the head with a kendo stick, actually. And he ends up getting the victory with that diamond cutter-like maneuver and gets the 1-2-3. Matchup was kind of boring at first, but by the end it got very entertaining, very high emotional towards the end, and especially with that crooked win that they got over the team that they faced, it was pretty solid win overall. Then we got a tag team match. It was Chaos, Beretta, and Okada against the Bullet Club members of Bad Luck Fale and Jay White. This match only lasted for 4 minutes and 32 seconds. Not that much of a tag team match, but what happened after the match was what you were probably more invested in to hear, because it was more of a build-up storyline towards Jay White and Okada, and I'm thinking this matchup is definitely going to be a singles match between these two guys at Wrestle Kingdom. Most definitely. First off, Okada's former manager turned on him to go with Jay White. Then they went to the fucking Bullet Club of the heel faction version of Bullet Club, not Bullet Club Elite, with Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks. So, at the end of the day, we saw, complete turnarounds and turncoats on Chaos going to the Bullet Club members of the old with the heels. So, definitely worth a matchup to Wrestle Kingdom between these two guys, especially with the kind of elevated heat that goes on between these two characters. It is well worth to be set at this type of stage, because Wrestle Kingdom is New Japan Wrestling's version of WrestleMania. So at the end of the day, guys, this is definitely the matchup, the match that needs to happen, and a major grudge match that needs to happen at Wrestle Kingdom, most definitely. Okada and Beretta actually win this matchup. Beretta picks up a huge pinfall over Filet, and they pick up the victory. The Golden Lovers tag team together, Kenny Omega and Kota Ibushi defeating David Finlay and Hiroshi Tanahashi. They're really doing some good, decent build here. Solid, okay, simplistic build, nothing out of the ordinary, nothing hard, difficult, just interactions and tag team matchup, and just their facial expressions and the things that they kind of throw at each other here and there. They also have shown some press conferences in what they've been doing and what they've been saying. And I gotta tell you, it definitely looks good. At the end of the day, if Kenny Omega stays with New Japan Wrestling and continues there, he will retain the title. If he ends up leaving, of course, they're going to take the title off of him and put it on Tanahashi. I think that's probably why they gave him this opportunity to face Kenny Omega, because if Kenny Omega stays, he gets a huge victory over a guy like Tanahashi, and if he doesn't stay, well, at the end of the day, New Japan Wrestling wins either way, because Tanahashi is one of their biggest stars. He is like the John Cena of New Japan Wrestling, man. He is one of the biggest names and has won the title 7 different occasions. So this being his number 8 would be probably historic for any in-ring competitor, especially in Ring of Honor, I keep saying Ring of Honor, New Japan Wrestling. So this is definitely a win-win situation for New Japan Wrestling at the end of the day. They're doing a very smart decision here, in my opinion, on that. But Kota Ibushi, I think, would have been a solid pick, especially that, they could have had Kota Ibushi turn heel on Kenny Omega and go on his own and say, hey, you know what? I may have won a tournament, and I'm very excited to be able to face you for that title, but I'm tired of being a third wheel to your running buddies, the Bullet Club Elite. And it kind of makes him, Kota Ibushi does not look like he fits in with Bullet Club Elite. Bottom line, with Marty Scurll, Cody Rhodes, the Young Bucks, and Kenny Omega, he doesn't blend in very well with them. He doesn't look like he fits the part for a faction even. He looks like he's his own man. And, I mean, for him to be with Kenny Omega is awesome, but at the end of the day, it doesn't really help Kota Ibushi, because I think Kota Ibushi really deserves to be in a world title picture. He's a very great in-ring competitor. He puts on a very good match with anybody he competes against. His match with Cody Rhodes earlier this year was outstanding. Wrestle Kingdom, I mean. And they performed very well against each other. I really enjoyed watching the in-ring work that these two guys put together. And it would have been kind of neat to see Kota Ibushi go up against Kenny Omega for the World Championship in New Japan Wrestling, but that wasn't the case. But Tanahashi is an okay pick, because he's definitely been around for a long time, and if they can't re-sign Kenny Omega to another contract, at least they're putting the title on a legend like Tanahashi. So I have no issues with that. I just kind of wish they would have went with somebody more fresh that hasn't won the title as much, but that's just me. They had the Super Junior Tag Team League tournament for 2018 in a 3-way match. Ropoga 3K actually won this match. I didn't really watch the whole thing. I kind of skipped to the end. Didn't really care too much for it. I skipped the never open weight title match. Hiroki Goto defeated Tachi in a rematch, and Tachi only had like a minor title when he was a paper champion basically, and loses the title. This matchup was kind of entertaining for a little bit for the end I watched, but nothing too extraordinary. Tomohiro Ashi defeating Minoru Suzuki for the Rev Pro Undisputed British Heavyweight Championship. This matchup was actually decent. It was kind of slow, but they really were rough on each other, beating the hell out of one another, slapping each other all over the place. I thought one of them was going to go unconscious or something. They were really getting hit in the temple, the face. I'm surprised nobody was bleeding at the end of this, except for a little bit of blood came out of Suzuki's mouth. But other than that, the rest of it was just back and forth, very stiff shots with each other. And it was just kind of rough to watch. I mean, these guys were literally beating the hell out of each other in a sense. And I gotta put it this way, guys. They impressed me. They weren't holding back on anything. They didn't throw any punches with each other, but they used their forearms and they went full force as much as they possibly could without knocking the other one out. But my God, man, these guys really roughed the shit out of each other. I'm surprised that I didn't see no blood or any severe bruising was going on, but they looked pretty banged up. So, the match was decent overall. I had no problems with it. Nato facing Zack Sabre Jr. In a singles match, and Nato actually finally gets the victory over Sabre Jr. They faced each other two other occasions earlier this year, once in the summer in June and once in March, and both times Sabre Jr. won by submission, one by pinfall. So Nato finally gets the victory in a pinfall victory, and they used the sense of an injury of the neck by Sabre Jr. that created a loss of feeling in his fingers, which is actually very interesting, going with that kind of route of a storyline, unless that was actually real, which I hope it isn't. Sabre Jr. will have problems if he has issues with his neck. So I hope this is just a storyline type of deal. This was not meant to be something used as it wasn't something that actually really happened. It was more of a thing that they used to help elevate Nato to have an advantage win over Sabre Jr. in this sense, and give him a reason to actually win. But if that was not the case, and he was dealing with real loss in his fingers and stuff and his limbs, that's not really a good thing at all. He probably is going to need to take a step back from performing in the ring for a while until he gets that fixed. But other than that, I mean, match was good. Good technical wrestling, especially by Sabre Jr. Very outstanding submission artist. I think he would go very well with WWE. He'd bring a whole new style of professional wrestling to WWE's in-ring talent. But based on the way the creative ideas are, I mean, he probably won't go nowhere in that company. He's a straight-laced guy. I mean, he doesn't need any major storyline to get him over. All he needs is a simplistic matchup based on pure competition and just being an absolute ass, being full of himself and thinking he's the best that there is, the best there was, or best there ever will be. Kind of like a Bret Hart type of character. Only Bret Hart wasn't that cocky. He just believed in his wrestling ability. This guy believes in his wrestling ability, but he thinks he can beat anybody, and he didn't give a fuck who it was. But that's just the case. And this matchup was good. If this was storyline, like I said, very smart decision here. It brought in a new element that helped Naito win the matchup altogether and help him prevent from getting submitted. So I actually like the decision on New Japan Wrestling if this was storyline injury. Last match was the IWGP Intercontinental title match with Chris Jericho defeating Evil. Evil actually came to Nato's rescue at one point, and earlier this year in Dominion in June when Jericho won the title. And Jericho did not take that very lightly. He did not like the fact that he interfered in Jericho's attack after the match, so he felt the need to attack Evil during his match later on that year. I think it was around September, October, and he took upon himself to beat his ass. That led to Evil wanting a match with Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho gave him what he wanted, and he beat him in the ring by submission by the walls of Jericho. Very good job by New Japan for giving Evil this long drawn-out match, forcing him to really work hard to, reach for that rope and make him look like he's determined to win. It made him look good even though he lost. So at the end of the day, he still looked decent. Do I see him as a guy that could pull out being a singles in-ring competitor? Absolutely not. I think he blends blends in very well with Sonata. These two guys are a very good tag team. I don't see Evil being good enough to be a singles competitor. I just don't see it. Sonata, a little bit more lean towards him than Evil. Evil's got a character about him. He's, very much like The Undertaker in a satanic manner. But at the end of the day, he ain't a guy I'm going to imagine being a singles competitor competing for titles like the IWGP Intercontinental title again and actually winning it. And if he does, he's still going to lose. I do not see this guy as a singles competitor. Sonata has pulled off, to me, to be the better singles competitor in Evil. He performed for the heavyweight championship against Okada and pulled off a magnificent one-on-one matchup with Okada before. And it was very close, very believable. Evil wasn't all that much close to winning the damn title. I did not see him anywhere near winning the title. He hit his finisher, yes. But at the end of the day, Jericho is one of the best. I could not see Chris Jericho losing the Intercontinental title in just one title defense. That would just not make any fucking sense whatsoever. There has got to be a guy that they can find that they'll have beat Chris Jericho that's reasonable enough and believable enough that could beat Chris Jericho in a one-on-one match. The only one I can think of is Naito, and Naito has been... after the match, Naito came out and he said, I want a rematch with Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho went backstage and said that he will not grant Naito a rematch for that IWGP Intercontinental Championship simply because he has already beaten him. He has nothing to prove. In a sense, he has a point. But he was not very much of a honorable wrestler. He didn't have any showing of, care or professionalism whatsoever. Ever since he's come to New Japan Wrestling, he's been completely unprofessional. He has been playing this heel character to a T. He has been outstanding in what he is doing. He is basically looked at as a WWE figure who hates on Japanese professional wrestling. I think that is fucking cool as hell, and if that's what New Japan Wrestling is trying to get over to the crowd and its viewers, they've done an outstanding job. Because he gives you the image that he really dislikes Japanese professional wrestling. He thinks American wrestling is better, he thinks it's got more talent, and they're the better show. And that's what I think they're trying to pull off with Chris Jericho. They're trying to make it a WWE versus New Japan Wrestling without the WWE wrestler being signed to WWE right now. And there actually was a news article on NoDQ.com that New Japan Wrestling is very interested in offering big, luxurious contracts to these WWE performers that have an opportunity to leave WWE at a certain point once their contracts are up. And there has been offers made out to certain wrestlers. Those certain wrestlers have not been named, but they have been stated that there is a case that New Japan Wrestling is interested in WWE in-ring performers. So if there are WWE wrestlers that are not happy where they're at and they want to go somewhere else, well, fuck, man, New Japan Wrestling is where that's at. They want to give these guys six-figure numbers, hundreds of thousands of dollars. And if you're a guy that's performing in WWE and you're not making that $1 million amount of money, well, shit, you got more promising salary somewhere else, like New Japan Wrestling. And I gotta tell you, if I was in WWE and I didn't like where I was, like a Dolph Ziggler, Drew McIntyre even, I would not want to. I'd go to New Japan Wrestling in a heartbeat, easy, no questions asked. I would go. But that's really all I have to say right now. If you liked the video, hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button if you're not already subscribed to the channel. And leave a comment down below and I'll get right back to you. Anyway, guys, thank you very much for watching. Have a great night. Bye.